listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
Hello, and welcome to the Straight to Video podcast with me, your host, Rob Lane. On today's show, I got to catch up with an old friend of mine who I've shared many a stage with over the years as a touring buddy, along with the occasional travel lodge bed. And I've also been a fan from the audience too, as he's one of this country's finest singer-songwriters. Today's podcast is with Mr. Danny Gruff. Danny and I first met when our old band People on Vacation did a UK tour, and Danny was picked as the support act, and we clicked super fast. More due to, I think, Danny's character, as he's just a really easygoing and likeable guy, always up for a laugh, and when it comes to touring, he just wants it to be a smooth ride so it doesn't cause any drama and puts nothing but positive vibes out there. I've spoken about it before, but he has a song called Last Man Standing, which used to floor me each night when he'd end his set with it, and it's a song that really sums up how a lot of musicians feel when working the road to some kind of success and all the pitfalls and endless miles of travelling to play to practically no one. It can be tough, but to get any taste of reward, then it's all part of the journey, and Danny's song perfectly conveyed that. After moving from his hometown of Wrexham to London for several years, Danny now lives in Manchester and currently has an album available called Author of My Own Misfortunes, which you can pick up from dannygruff.com. If you enjoy great rock songs from the likes of Bruce Springsteen or Brian Fallon and the Gaslight Anthem, then please dive in and give Danny's songs a listen. I think Danny's fun personality shines in this chat, and it's always great to catch up with him, so I hope you enjoy it. So here's me talking to my mate, Danny Gruff. So, you're from Wales originally. Is that born and raised?
North Wales, Wrexham, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I lived there for the first 18 years of my life.
Right.
And yeah, it was good. Good town. It had the highest teenage pregnancy rate for a fair few years, so we were the top of the list, so that was good.
Kind of like Nottingham, where they say there's like 3 girls to every guy, or it used to be.
Definitely wasn't that, like...
It never paid off dividends for me when I was in Nottingham at that time, that's for sure.
Oh, no, that was one of the reasons I moved to Leeds in the end, because I went there for uni, and then when I went to come and visit, I was walking around, and I was like, dude, there's a lot of nice women around here. You know what? Not that many good-looking men, so I'm going to edge my bets. And I did. I went there for 3 years. It's good. Didn't get much success, if I'm honest, Rob.
Right. So, excuse my ignorance, is North Wales, is that a Welsh-speaking part, or is that an optional thing?
Not where I'm from. So Wrexham's very much on the border. You got Wrexham and Chester. Drive for about 10 miles. We're in Chester, which is England. So we're on the border of Cheshire. So you have a few people who live in the Wrexham postcode, but they say they're from Cheshire. That sort of place. If you go a little bit further in to like Conway and Denbighshire and stuff like that, you get a few Welsh-speaking people, and they can be quite ignorant.
Really?
Like, it's quite weird. Yeah. It's quite horrible. Like, my brother used to work somewhere. He started getting Welsh lessons because he thought everyone was taking a mick out of him because he couldn't understand them.
Right. Have you ever dived into it?
Into Welsh?
Yeah.
Dipping back just means a little bit. That's about it, to be fair. We had it in school, obviously, but like, our teacher was really cool. Miss Vernon, her name was at the time. I think she's remarried now. She liked me and she liked my mates. And she liked rock music, and we were into rock music at the time. So we used to she'd be like, oh, so this is Welsh. Novi, I can't even remember any of it. Pool Novi, I think was swimming pool, something like that. And then she'd be like, right, so here's Iron Maiden. It's pretty cool, like. Still speak to her now. She's my mate on Facebook. Like.
Oh, that's awesome. So growing up, what would be the standard weekend in the Gruff household?
Oh, Saturday night TV when it was good. Do you remember that? Blind date and all that?
I knew blind date were coming.
Yeah. That was it. Like Saturday night used to be mint, didn't it?
Gladiators.
Yeah, that was my age. Me and my brother used to play gladiators as well. My brother's 3 years older than me, so we'd find something that would resemble the big sticks and then get on the bed, which would be a single bed, but we were only tiny, and then just bash each other off it. I say bash it. Jimmy, my brother, would just... I'd be off every time, and then when we got into wrestling, he got into wrestling.
Oh, sweet.
I was his guinea pig for a lot of the moves, which was fun.
Which wrestlers? Come on, who was the favourites?
Oh, so we were at the age of like Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, that sort of golden thing. But Walls of Jericho was the one my brother used to do all the time. Whether I wanted it or not, I'd be there sitting playing PlayStation. Walls of Jericho, no! So that was, bless him.
Superb.
I wish I could say he doesn't do it anymore, but when we get drunk at Christmas and then conversation comes up, he's like, I bet I could still do it.
So your brother, you say he was 3 years older than you?
Yeah.
Was he the guy who got you into music? Did he influence it and trickle things down?
Yeah. Well, I noticed when listening to your other podcast, it seems to be a common theme.
It is.
It's either like an older brother or like if you got a particularly musical family. But my mum and dad aren't particularly musical. Like my mum, she'd have music on in the car and she used to have John Bon Jovi's solo stuff, which I thought was absolutely terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
It's absolutely, I was just like, this ain't for me. And then she had Robson and Jerome, which I liked, from Soldier fame. And what else did she have? Ronan Keating, obviously, and Boyzone, obviously. The thing I love about Ronan Keating, every Mother's Day he used to bring out a new album, so it was always an easy present. Yeah, so my brother, because my mum was a single parent for the first however many years of my life before she met my stepdad, Derek. My brother, that was how I learned all my music stuff, and I'd sort of be 3 years ahead of my age because of we used to live in adjoining rooms, so whatever he was listening to, that was it for me. I had to listen to it. Like, I didn't really have a choice.
What was coming through the walls? What kind of stuff?
So what I can remember early on is the bad years, I call them, when he was listening to Clubland. They were the bad years. When he was going out clubbing, pulling, when he was like 14. There used to be a club in Wrexham called Peppers where they do like an under-16 night. So you'd go... I never went to that. I went to rock clubs instead. But so Clubland, that was a bad era. But I remember particularly, it was probably around 2001 or 2002 when Oasis released Heathen Chemistry. One of my brother's mates gave Jimmy the album and he played it on repeat. And at first I was like, oh, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. I hate this. And then after about 4 weeks listening to it straight, I knew every single word and I loved it. And I was waiting for them to, like when Top of the Pops was a thing and they'd come on and like Hindu Times on the album and Stop Crying Your Heart Little by Little. So yeah. And then that was for me when my music taste changed for the better. But when we were younger, we used to listen to the Beatles a lot. That was the Beatles was the main one throughout one of my early years, really.
How was it hearing the Beatles then? Did it sound like old music to you, or was you just kind of judging it on face value as like...
Do you know, yeah, I don't really remember. I was thinking about this when you texted me the other day, trying to think about some early memories and stuff. And one of my earliest memories, like... I went round to my dad's house with my brother and it was when the Beatles #1 album was out. Do you remember that? The big one?
Yeah.
And that would just be on in the kitchen and like every tune you'd just be like, that's a good one, this. And then Obla Dee, Obla Da would come off, you'd turn that off, you'd be like, right, next one. Stick on Long and Winding Road again. But like, I was just like, I don't know what it was. It was always happy and stuff. Even the sad songs were happy on that album because it was all like the greatest hits and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember just being in love with that and then I got myself a copy and then we got the anthology as well, one of the anthologies, which didn't make any sense at the time because we were just like Beatles #1 fans. And then over the years, I got a little bit obsessed with them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which was good.
So with Oasis, did you backtrack once you got into that album?
Yeah, I did. Because it was around about the time I started learning to play guitar. So if you look at all the Oasis first two albums, Deafy Maybe and What's the Story, Morning Glory, you know 4 chords, you've got them all down. And it was all dead easy riffs, like Supersonic and stuff. It was an easy riff to learn and be impressive to... Well, not show people my age, but show other people. And then I remember a lad who used to live across the road with us called Nige. He used to play Wonderwall. And I was obsessed with it because I was like, that sounds exactly like the CD. And then once I realised I could do that, I was like, oh, this is it. And like all the Oasis...
I'm off and running.
Yeah, it's all cowboy chords, isn't it? Is what I call them. Like, and it's just, it'll sound good, whatever you did. And I love that. So that was, I suppose I did backtrack. And from that moment on, I was a massive Oasis fan. I've sort of dipped in and out over the years. Now I can give or take. I mean, living in Manchester, it's too much Oasis. But and playing pub gigs has ruined Oasis for me, to be fair.
Right.
But, you know, they've got a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily give the time of day to, which is incredible. Like the last 2 albums I love, but nobody else does.
So what about bands like Welsh bands such as, I know you're a fan of the Stereophonics, and what about Manic Street Preachers? And do you view those bands differently? Is it almost like, oh, these are home bands, like a football supporter kind of thing?
Stereophonics massively, because when I used to be in bands when I was younger, and when my mates were in bands and stuff, pretty much the Stereophonics' first album was everyone's set list, and then if you were good enough, you'd do stuff off the second album because it was a little bit more complex, harder to sing as well. Like Bartender and the Thief and stuff, it was a bit up there, and you had to be a little bit better on guitar. But the first album, Word Gets Around, was all, again, cowboy chords, so everyone learned it. There was that and Oasis. Manic Street Preachers we never massively got because you couldn't really cover them that well.
Right.
It was sort of based around on what you could play, and Manics were a little bit ahead of that. And James Dean Bradfield's got like a ridiculous voice, so it was hard to sort of get up there. Feeder was a big one.
Right, yeah.
I think their album Echo Park was when I was early in bands and stuff. Yeah, and then you sort of have to learn Tom Jones. I don't ever remember learning a Tom Jones song, but I know a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I think when I was born, it was just like, why, hello, mother. Sort of thing. I don't know, you just sort of ingrained into you, isn't it?
It's in the DNA. So you mentioned rock clubs. Right.
So as I got a little bit older, so around about 15, something like that, my mates were in bands as well, and they started going to the heavier side of things. And my mate, I was thinking about this earlier, my mate Thomas Hewson, right, he was the only one out of us who couldn't play an instrument, but he had the best music taste. Whatever he said, it was good.
Worth checking out.
It still is. Yeah, it still is. I think he's just bought a guitar, which might be his first instrument. He's 30 years old. But, like, he's always ahead of the game. We got us on, like, it was sort of like The Darkness was my in, because it was accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I got into Nickelback, obviously, until they released that Dark Horse album. And I think track 2 was called SEX. And I was like, no, I'll give up with that band now.
Oh, no, I'm out.
Yeah. So is that, and then we started going to, there was a venue in Wrexham called Central Station. I don't know if you've ever been there. It feels like you
I
might
don't think so.
Shut down now, I think, or it's getting rebranded or something. But there used to be a club night called Rebellion, and I think it was like every first Wednesday of the month or every last Wednesday of the month or something, and you'd go there. And I went there dressed as an indie kid because I had on my brother's hand-me-downs. So it'd be me in like, I don't know, an Oasis shirt or something, and a jacket with my hair, like all this, sneaking a red stripe before I went there sort of thing. And then you get there and they'd like, you could just tell it was like, these people had lived for that night because they could put all the makeup on, they could wear what they want, and nobody would judge them in that room. And then this was a time when System of a Down released Mesmerize. So it was like BYOB and Cigarette and stuff like that. So that album was always played, and it was amazing. And I just really got into it, and I really liked the people. Every time I went there, it was a good atmosphere. There was no like fights or anything, so it'd be a mosh pit, and then you just sort of get knocked out. I remember the first time seeing the mosh pit being like, oh yeah, I can get in there, and I went in there and I was like, oh, this is actually quite fun. But like, people looked at me because I was an indie kid. They were like, I'm not too sure about you. And I was like, no, I like it. No, I know all the words. Like Papa Roach, I know all that. And then obviously the pop punk thing that's creeping there towards the end of the night. You said about Jimmy Eat World, Bowling for Soup, Sum 41 and all that. And then that was like, I love all that. Like,
that was your midway point, right? This is where
that was where I met them, I reckon. But then I'd delve into the heavier stuff. Like Skindred was a Welsh band that one of their songs came on the Spotify playlist today. And they always used to play Nobody, Nobody Get Down to Life. That was incredible. Where that used to come down and Drowning Pool, Bodies.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh,
Game over, brother.
I honestly, if that club was still going, I'd be like, right, can we make this 18 plus, and then I'll be there because I can just like I've still found this like Satan's Hollow in Manchester. I can't wait till I can go there because I've been discussing it with friends and I haven't been there since I moved. I'm like, right, that seems like I should be there every week.
I love it, man. Love it. So when did actually guitar playing and singing come into the fold? Was it with the Oasis stuff and all that kind of thing? And when did you get your first guitar?
I was 11 in school. Our RE teacher, Mr. Watson, sadly passed away now. He got his son in to do guitar lessons every Monday after school or something. And my brother was like, I fancy that. So I was like, yeah, well, I will then, if you're doing it. So my mum had to fork out for 2 brand new acoustics, like those nylon string things. And I was just determined to be better than my brother because he was better than me at everything, wrestling and all that. And I was like, I'm going to be better on the guitar. Surely I can do that. You don't have to be fit to do that. I can eat all the chocolate I want and still play. It'd be grand. So, and I fell in love with it. I remember like the first few guitar lessons, the teacher, Phil, he was like, what do you want to learn? And the first song we learned was Wild Thing. And then it was like Knocking on Heaven's Door, Wonderful Tonight by Eric Clapton, all again GDC and all that. And I remember just being at home and playing along with the albums, being like, I sound exactly like Eric Clapton. I honestly, I don't know what it sounded like in my head, but I can guarantee I didn't.
It does feel pretty magical though, because when I first picked up a guitar, I held it. I brought it for like £10 off my friend, and I remember coming home and sitting on a chair thinking, "What the hell do I do with this thing?" And then you learn your first few chords, which is probably G, C, and D, and it matches up with a song on your vinyl or your cassette or whatever. It's like, holy shit!
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a really good feeling.
When I got into learning riffs, then that was like, so what was the first riff I learned? Day Tripper by the Beatles. It's weird now that I've taught people over time, and it baffles me that they're not into it. They come the next week and they're like, I haven't picked up the guitar this week. And you're like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what have you been doing? Like, what is there better than this? Obviously, the magic's gone for me now. I've got a guitar here, but I mean, once a day maybe I might play it for 5 minutes. But because it's my job, if I was gigging, I'd be doing like 4 gigs a week. That's, 2 hours, 3 hours a day. So, but yeah, I remember thinking like, this is incredible, and then loving it, and then it was my only passion. Then I wanted to be an accountant before that.
Yeah, wow, that's a flip all of a sudden.
Yeah, I was really good at maths, and it just made sense.
Yeah,
like I thought, I looked how much they earned, and I was like, Jesus. And that was at a time when it was like 22 grand a year, and I was like, 22 grand. God, I'd be rich. And now like 22 grand's not obviously what accountants are earning. I'm probably earning double that.
So was it always the singer-songwriter path for you? You had the band The Peacemakers, no relation to the band we supported from America, which was The Peacemakers as well. But you got the song I'm Coming Home, which is very Gaslight Anthem, like very Gaslight Anthem.
Oh, yeah.
Were they a big influence?
At that time, yeah. I'd go through phases, to be fair. They still are, but I try and be a bit more subtle about it these days. And then I was like, I heard 59 Sound. I was like, okay, we'll just do that. And the guitarist was a big Gaslight Anthem fan, so I was like, you just play what he would play. But yeah, I remember I got in a band when I was like 12, 13 with my mates called Endeavour, and that band is still going. They're called JK Lameno. I left the band a few years ago when I moved to London, but I'm producing their album now.
Oh, amazing, man. That's awesome. That's got to feel good, like full circle kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'm involved in the songwriting and stuff, so it's like I'm part of the band, but I'm not, so it's nice being like that. It's sort of been a passion project to do it, and we got it kick-started over lockdown. But yeah, this was in that band, and then I started another band with a couple of people from my year called Ruby Blue, which was terrible. The singer couldn't sing. And then she stopped turning up to rehearsals. And I was writing the songs at the time. And I was like, I'll just give it a go today. I'll sing the songs, I know them. And then went on a bit. And then I think I did a gig with me singing or something. And then that was it. I was like, oh, attention. Hello.
Yeah, was it like a combination of both? Like, yeah, I can pull these songs off, but there's also the buzz of being the frontman as well.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Like I haven't always had this personality. It's sort of come over me during, being a singer for 15 years now. Yeah, and then I got in a band called the Rigby's, which was sort of like my real break in a way. So in Central Station, we were always a band that would be asked to support people. So when the Subways came to town, I got a phone call, do you want to support the Subways? And nice. Black Alps, do you want to support? And it was nice. And we were a good band. We were like an indie band, sort of like Arctic Monkeys, Milburn-y. That was all my influences, a McFly. And they were all into the Smiths and Arcade Fire, so they brought their bits in, which bands I didn't like at the time, which I now like. But yeah, Rigby's was my big. I was like, I'm really into this. And I was the lead singer, and it was fun, and we'd have loads of people turn up. We sold out like Central Station.
You could feel a bit of momentum.
Yeah, and then we decided to part ways because we always said if one person quits, we just call it a day. And I think the drummer quit, or the bass player, one of them. And then I was like, right, we'll call it a day. And the guitarist joined a new band. He knew I was writing stuff. And they did a gig in town in a place called Milner's. He was like, oh, do you want to come along and play a few songs? And I was like, oh, I've got a couple of songs. I could churn her out. And then that was the start of my singer-songwriter thing then. Yeah, one of my first songs called Last of the Big Time Small Town Lads, which was my very sort of... I'll play you a little bit of it. Do you mind? Is that okay?
No, go for it, man.
See if the guitar's in tune.
Awesome.
No, I'll just show you the lyrics. That it's a... You ask me why I don't want to dress like you. Ask me once again and I'll tell you why. It's because you look like a twat in your top man scarf, that's why. So it was all that sort of stuff. So that was my first EP. And then the second EP was stuff with like Drink, Drink, Drink on. I don't know if you know that song. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I got the band in. The third EP was Saturday night, Sunday mornings with like I'm Coming Home and stuff on. And then and then I did an EP after that. I moved away, so the band weren't with me anymore. And that was called Optimist, which for me was the start of Danny Gruff being Danny Gruff. I hate to speak about myself in the third person there, but it's when I became a singer-songwriter, not trying to be in a band. And yeah. I was writing songs to be a singer-songwriter, knowing I could play them by myself rather than with a band. And then, yeah, that was it. And then we did the one new tune a week thing, and then that was just kicked off then. That's when I met you.
Awesome, man. So where did that work ethic come from, particularly on that one new tune a week thing in 2015, wasn't it? That was.
Yeah.
And that was like, for those who don't know, you wrote and recorded a new song each week, and you did a video for each one as well.
Video, recording, and a blog every week.
Yeah. Where's that work ethic from? Is that a family thing?
I don't know. I mean, all my family are pretty hard working. Like, I'm not going to say they're scroungers, like, but I suppose I have. My mum always, did her best to put food on the table no matter what it was. And my brother's a tradesman, so I suppose maybe it's picked up, but...
Or is it once you get something in your head, right, this is what I'm going to do, I'm not going to look at idiot if I fail, I've got to do it.
Yeah, like, ask Naomi, she says I'm always like that. Like, if I say I'm doing something, I'll just do it. One of the big thing was I moved to London in 2014, and I moved in with 3 musicians. Nick Kent was one of them, and then Jack Birchwood, who played brass on my last album and on a song for New Tune a Week, and a guy called Oscar Golding. And the first weekend I moved in, I sat there in the living room, and I was in this little box room, and I was in London, got forced to moving down to London because of Dave and Nick. I sat there with Jack, and he goes, "Oh, what are you up to this weekend?" I was like, "I don't know, just get settled, really. Might go and buy a few beers." And I was like, "What are you up to?" So I've got a couple of gigs. I was like, "Where are you playing?" And he was like, "Oh, let me just check my diary." And honestly, this isn't him being like a dick. This is him just being Jack, just lovely and humble. He went, "Yeah, I'm playing Blues Kitchen on Friday and Hyde Park on Saturday." I was like, "What? Hyde Park?" He went, "Oh, yeah, I'm playing for Scouting for Girls." I was like, "Oh, what?" And then the bass player was always off doing things, and Nick was always off doing things. So it was always like I was surrounded by people, and Dave was always doing things. And I was like, well, I'm not getting famous anytime soon. I may as well do something to prove that I can write a song or prove that I can do stuff. And yeah, doing that opened up massive opportunities. So that's when I spotted people on vacation that February or March or something. And that's when I met you and Jarrett and Ryan and stuff. So, and then that led on to a couple of years of being popular, which is nice.
So let's go back to it. Where did the London thing come in? Like, was you realising, like, I'm getting good at writing songs and performing, and London was the obvious jump to make a go of it? Or what kind of brought it about?
No, I didn't like London. I still don't, to be honest. I mean, I like going down there when Dave Dave still lives there, but I'd go down there and would go out in Camden and get drunk, and I used to enjoy that and going down and doing gigs and stuff, and I enjoyed that side of it. But we were doing a tour that May, or maybe a little bit before, and it was like a YouTube tour, so it was like sold out every night, hundreds of people. And Dave and Nick were on about me moving to London, and I was like, nah, not for me. I'm a Wrexham boy. I'm staying here now, and I had a girlfriend at the time.
So how did you guys meet then? I know I'm jumping a bit, but I'm just trying to...
I met Dave when I played Lancaster Uni. He was playing as well. His band were on after me, and I played a cover of Will Smith's Just the Two of Us, which I can still rap every single word of. And he was like, we're going to be friends. And we got drunk together and kept in touch. And then when he went solo, because he was in a band called the Rileys, when he went solo, he did a gig in Camden Barfly, rang me up. He was like, "Oh, do you want to come down and support me?" And I was like, "Do I want to come play Camden Barfly?" "Yes, I do." And then we were just friends. Like, that was it. After that, lifelong friends. But they were always trying to get me to move to London anyway. And then a room came up in the house that Nick was living in. And I got phone calls every single day. Not from just Dave and Nick as well. Dave would get his dad to ring me because I was mates with his dad and mates with his brother. And then other people I'd met in London would ring me saying, "Oh my God, it's so good you moved down to London. Can't wait, Danny. This is ace." And then I broke up with my girlfriend, and it was after like a string of just rubbish relationships. Like, I think I had about, not rubbish, but they weren't long term. It was just something that didn't happen. So it was like 3 in a row. And I was like, they were like, they were good, but not really spark there. So I was like, I'll go to London, see what happens. I was meant to be there 6 months. I ended up staying there 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's where I met Naomi, so it's like, it worked out pretty well.
Did you find your feet, or did you ever feel at home there? Or
yeah, I love West London. I hate East London. Like, we lived in Acton, which is West London, and I loved it. Like, and yeah, I loved going out in Camden, which is Northwest and stuff. But it's weird. Like, when I moved to Manchester, I was like, yeah, straight away, without even. I haven't got that many friends here. I just love it. I love the city. I love the atmosphere. I love the way it looks, the way it is. You're right. I was like, yeah. I love all that. Love it. Like, and it's an hour away from my mum, so I can go and see her and stuff. And my brother's just had a kid, so I'm near the baby now. Not my brother, I don't care about him, but the baby's ace. Like, if you go to London and try and be a singer-songwriter, there's a different way to do it, and I didn't do it. I just sort of, like, you can do the open mic things, which I just find really boring. And I know a lot of singer-songwriters do that when they go, I'm going to London, I'm going to be a star. Yeah. They'll go down that route. That just wasn't for me. I find that really tedious. So I just did loads of covers gigs. ended up getting a few big supports. And I just pushed myself to be a better musician, better songwriter when I was down there, which led to a number of things, really. So I'm happy the time I spent there.
Yeah.
I like going back there. I couldn't go back there to live. It's not a place to settle. Can't afford a house down there for a start. Like,
do you miss that environment, living with other musicians and stuff like that at all? Like creative kind of outlet?
Kind of, yeah. Like the first house I lived in with Nick, that was for the first like 2 years maybe was incredible because it was just a party all the time. And you'd come in from a gig and you don't know who was going to be at your house, and they'd be like, not in a good way though, like because there'd be the guitarist from Kylie Minogue be there, you chatting to him, and the guitarist from One Direction stayed with us for a bit, and I was just chatting to him and like me and him got really well. Didn't really know what he did, and then one day he was like, "Oh, I play guitar for One Direction." I was like, "Oh shit, no way!" So it was nice to be surrounded by those sort of people, but sort of you grow a bit tired. I grown a bit tired of it just because I seen a lot of fakery in that world as well, of musicians using other musicians to get higher up in the chain, and I'm really not into that because it's not worth it. I'm not going to spend 3 hours talking to someone I don't like on that chance that they might introduce me to their mate who's going to introduce. I'd rather just chat to someone I know and chat to someone I like. Like there was a point I was at a party and there was about 30 odd people here, all musicians, and me and Naomi ended up just going off and getting drunk by ourselves because it was like that was the only person I wanted to be with that night was Naomi, like, and so that was nice. But and then that was when I started to realise I was like, yeah, I'm sort of growing tired of this world.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to get a house and maybe have a family one day and stuff, and you can't really do that being a musician in London.
No, it's just the next
Yeah, I mean,
chapter.
you can. You just got to be successful.
Yeah, it's just the next chapter, man. You're still doing the music, and it's going to reflect in your songs and all that kind of stuff, I would imagine. So,
oh, it's going to be terrible, isn't it? Like all the songs when you're single are ace. Like when you're single or you're going through a breakup, they're the best songs. I've been writing songs over the lockdown, and it's been really difficult because it's like I'm literally sat in these four walls playing FIFA, and it's like, what am I going to write about? So I've been trying to dig deep and trying to remember other stuff, and then I'm always scared of showing Naomi the songs, so I'm like, you broke my heart, I don't love you anymore. That's not one of the songs, but she'd be like, you don't love me anymore. I'd be like, no, it's not about you, it's about this time. And we had a conversation about it one day. I was like, just know, if I ever write a sad song, it's not about you. Just know that from here on out, because to be fair, we don't argue, so it's hard. That's another thing, like, it's annoying I can't write songs about it, because, you didn't do the dishes today.
that's as bad as it gets.
Made me a cup of tea. Yeah, exactly. It's God, I tell you, next album's going to be mundane, innit? Like...
So how is it when you revisit your hometown now? Do you still have a lot of family there? Is there still your core family there?
All my family is still there. A lot of my friends moved away. A few of my friends live in Cardiff.
Yeah.
So that's nice to visit there every now and then. But yeah, a lot of my best friend lives in Wrexham. It's nice because especially when I was living in London, I was doing these bigger gigs and I was getting a bit of an ego again. Like I didn't have an ego for a bit, and then I got a big ego, and then you go back to your hometown and spend the night with your mates, and you just remember, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you played in front of 1,000 people the day before, you're still a bit of a knobhead.
They'll bring you down straight away.
Yeah, and it's nice. Like I don't mind that. Like I think that's why I moved to Manchester. It's quite a depreciating city, really, isn't it? Like everyone's a bit like, they're not up themselves. They're just a bit like, oh yeah, no, I'm all right. Like I'm all right.
Has it changed much? Is it kind of succumbing to outside things and the big industries?
Wrexham.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you go back, you're like, holy shit, where'd that place come from?
Kind of, yeah. They haven't really cracked onto the vegan cafe bars yet. That's I'm waiting for that one to happen. There's not a music scene anymore, like, which is a shame, because when I was growing up, there used to be a few venues and it was ace, and I was really proud of it. But you go back now and all the venues are shutting down. There's a few people trying to make it better, which is great, and all for that. But I don't think there's a demand for it.
No.
I'm not sure, because all the people in Wrexham, not all the people, there's a majority of people in Wrexham who do like music. They're very much stuck in the ways of Oasis and Stone Roses, which is fine, but you're going to get in a very stale way of every band's going to start sounding like Oasis, Stone Roses. I mean, there's a couple of bands. There's a band called the Royston Boys Club or Royston Club or something like that. I never heard of them, and someone told me the other week, have you heard this band from Wrexham? And they've got like hundreds of thousands of streams on Spotify, sold out tours and stuff. I'm like, from Wrexham? And then you got Neck Deep as well. Do you know Neck Deep?
Yeah.
They're from Wrexham. It does seem the people who get out of Wrexham, once they realise there's more to life than playing in Wrexham, and then that's when things start happening for them. Like, I think Neck Deep's first gig was in LA, if I remember that rightly. I could be wrong, but I don't think they played in Wrexham before they played in LA.
Wow.
I'm almost certain that's correct.
That's how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Or they got a song on YouTube that went big, and then I think it was because it was just Seb, who's now the bass player, his brother to singer Ben, and they just put this song on YouTube called Part of Me, and it really kicked off. It went like proper viral in the pop punk world, and then they went up to LA and they were doing like these really packed house shows, and I was seeing videos going like, what? Yeah, no, fair do something. It's great.
Good on him, man.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But it's a shame there's no real venues. Central Station shut down. There used to be a venue called the Talbot. That's shut down. It's been shut down for years. But, you know, there's a couple of people. There's a guy called Kev, who's got a place called The Parish, and he's starting live music up, or he's been doing live music, and he's a really advocate for getting live music. But, I mean, with Wrexham, you've always got Manchester and Liverpool on your doorstep.
Right. How far is it from, like, Manchester when you go home?
50 minutes from my house to my mum's door. Yeah, and then Liverpool, it's about 45. So it's if you're from that, you kind of got to get yourself in that mentality that go out if you can. I'm very aware this might come across as like proper like arrogant, like, hey guys, you can go out and like or something, but it just seems like a lot of bands I've met over the years are happy just to be the best band in Wrexham rather than the best band. Like, they're not pushing themselves to be bigger because they're going to be massive in Wrexham, fair dues, they sell at Wrexham, but they're not willing to play the shows to 2 people in Liverpool or 2 people in London. Some people are, and it doesn't work out for them.
That's nationwide though, man. That's a story that someone will tell you from every single town. I think it's a common thing, really. I meant to ask this earlier. You thrive on engaging the audience, and you say your personality developed over gigs and stuff like that. So where did you learn it from? Was you just learning tricks from other bands, or was you always observant of how the audience is reacting to certain things? Where did it come from, and where did that personality develop, do you think?
I actually don't know.
No?
Like,
well, there you go. That's organic then.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like, I all the frontmen I like, Bruce Springsteen, Freddie Mercury, all these big showmen, like, and I suppose that's part of it. And I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it was Baz was touching on, Baz Mills from Massive Wagon, talking about it, saying, like, you know, if you get bullied as a kid, or like, because I was obviously fat as a kid, still am. Like, you overcompensate for something, so you either get really good at something or you learn how to deal with it. So my thing was always be funny and try and be a nice guy. And especially in my younger days when I couldn't really sing, the best parts of my gigs was my talking in between. Yep. And then as I've got older and learned how to sing, there's less talking in between. I'm trying to let the song speak, or my songs would be very, very talkative. Like, it wouldn't be like the strength of the melody would grab you. It'd be like that Last of the Big Time, Small Town Lad. It'd make you laugh. Yeah. So you'd get engaged with it. Drink. It would make you laugh. So I suppose it was a coping mechanism. It was me overcompensating for something. That was it, yeah. So, like, when I couldn't sing, I was trying to be funny, and now I can sing. I'm regretting trying to be funny because it's hard to get people trying to take you seriously now. But it's funny.
Can you remember the first time you got that audience reaction to? You do have quite a few audience participation songs. Did it take a few attempts?
Oh yeah. It still does. Like, if I'm ever doing a tour of like a week or something like that, you don't come to the first couple of gigs because it'll be jokes I thought of in my car on the way to the gig. When that's going to be ASAP. That joke is going to work. That is going to go down so well, and then it's too scripted. Yeah. And then you'll say at the gig, and people can tell it's false. So I'd rather just turn to a gig and be like, right, what's going on, and then just sort of go off on one and
just see what works and work it. Yeah. And that's kind of like how a stand-up comedian does, doesn't it? You see all these Netflix specials and stuff, but then if you hear them talk about how it came together, it's like, well, yeah, I spent like 6 months just doing like a late night slot at a random comedy store just to try and work the material out before you saw the finished article on a TV screen.
I'm a big fan of Peter Kay, which is probably dead obvious if you ever see me live, but I've watched a few like documentaries on him when he'd go out and he'd play to like 100 people in Bolton, and you're like, that'd be mad to see that gig, and he'd be talking about after going, that joke did a land, didn't it? And then what they do is, it's something I started doing when I was doing like bigger gigs, was I'd record the gig. I'd say to a sound guy, can I give you this, and record the gig, and after the gig I'd put it on in my car and listen to it back, which was hard to listen to a lot of the times because the mics don't really pick up the audience as well, so if there was no laughter, it's muted. Even if it was a roaring applause, you still feel a little bit like that could be better. But I don't know, I just try and be myself now, because when you try and write something or you overthink something, it's not funny, and people can see right through it and they think you're a bit of a dick. And if they don't find it funny, they don't like me. I suppose that's what it is.
So to kind of wrap things up, looking back on the journey you've had so far, how different is it from perhaps the path and the plan you had when you started out? And what are some of the most important lessons you've learned?
Dude, that's a loaded question, that one, isn't it?
Is it?
There's just a lot in there. I don't know. I suppose opening myself up to new music and new ways of doing things. Don't be closed off. Don't be like, your way's the best, because your chances are someone else knows better than you. And I've learned to just take criticism on board, and sometimes other people do know better, which is hard for me to take, to be fair. Especially when I've been doing my albums, I get a producer now rather than doing it myself, because I like that second opinion.
Did that used to be hard for you, taking people's opinions when it came to the recorded music side?
It's still a little bit. Yeah, definitely, because I used to self-produce everything. More often than not, I'd play everything as well. So when someone said anything bad, every aspect of that recording was me. And it'd be weird because someone might say, that snare's a bit crap. And you'd be like, no, that snare's ace. I don't know what you're talking about. And then the stuff that people have said, and I've ignored it, and then listened to it back, and I'll go, oh, they were right, that snare was crap. Always try it. If someone goes, just try it. Just don't be too stubborn to not give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
And try and get out as much as you can and write as much as you can. And sometimes the songs you think are the best aren't that good.
That tends to be across the board as well. That's another one of those things where the ones you expect people to latch on to, nah, but then the least ones, that was a piece of crap, just threw that one out there, and that's the one where, that's my favourite.
20-minute songs.
Right, dude, I'm going to let you go, but it's lovely to see you, mate.
And yourself. Thanks for lowering your standards for one
Get
episode.
out of it.
Sound, man. I'll speak to you soon.
Take it easy. See you later, mate.
I get the feeling that I'm a 20-something tragedy. I'm just trying to cut my teeth, but just need more time. I get a feeling that I'm growing old disgracefully. If only I was 17 again, I'd be fine. If only I was 17. If only I was 17 again, I'd be fine.
So great to see and speak to Danny, and want to thank him for taking the time to chat and supporting the Straight to Video podcast. Please head on over to dannygruff.com and grab his latest album, Author of My Own Misfortunes, or subscribe to his YouTube channel where you can check out all the videos from his One New Tune a Week project from a few years ago. That really was a massive and incredibly impressive piece of work. Thanks to all you lot out there for the continued support too. I really love hearing from you on what you think of the different chats. If there's anything you'd like me to ask people in the future which you think would be fun or interesting, please drop me a line to let me know. I'm working hard to get some more great guests on future episodes, and what makes things super cool is when some of you tell me you'd not heard about someone before, but after the chat you become a fan and dove into what they do. That's probably one of the most rewarding things. So until next time, please look after yourselves, and if you can share the Straight to Video podcast to anyone who you think would like to listen, that would be awesome. Love to you all, and speak real soon.